So let's use CSS to style our contact form. So back here I noticed two things. First, that these elements here don't fill 100% of their column, and the other thing is that we clearly don't need all the entire width of the parent element of this row here, because there's way too much space here between the labels and the elements, and this doesn't look good. So let's fix that. So back in our HTML file, this will be the form and the class that we want to format, the contact form. So add a new class and some white space, as always. So we need this as well. Alright, so let's say we want a width of only 60%. This should be much better. And then we also want to center that thing. And we could use that technique where we say that we want the left margin to be 20%, which is half of the difference between 100 and 60. But in this case, I want to format it the other way that I showed you before, which is saying that the margin top and bottom should be 0 and auto on left and right margin. So this will center this contact form inside of its parent element. And now I want to format my other form elements. So input, and the other one was the select element and the text area. And the first thing, I want them to be 100% wide so that they fill their whole column. And I also want them a little bit bigger by adding some padding inside of them. Let's say 7 pixels. This is a number that I like to use. And also a little border radius of, let's say, 3 pixels. Alright, let's see what we got. Okay, now we have some strange border here. And we also have another thing that we don't want, which is this input element and this one also fill the whole content, but in fact we only want these two. So how do we achieve that? Let me go back and let me show it to you. So the ones that we want are the one with type text and type email, right? So I will show you a new selector in CSS now, which does the following. With them we can select all input elements which has the type text. So we say type should equal text. And then we can say the same thing with email. And alright, it works. So the button is back to normal and this check button as well. And now we gotta get rid of this weird border here. And that should be quite easy. Just say border 1 pixel as always in solid and some gray color. So the color picker here, and let's say it shouldn't be too dark. As always we want something very subtle here. I think this one is good, CCC. That's also a gray color that I like to use a lot. Alright, let's see. Okay, great. You see that this select element here doesn't have the width of these two elements, and in fact it's very difficult to style these select elements, and so we'll leave it just as it is. Now we want this text area to be a little bigger, and we want this send button here to look like the other buttons. I mean, like this button, like the full button. So let's go back. So I'll just say text area and a height of 100 pixels. And now for the button, we do a very simple thing now. So we go back to the original buttons that we defined. Oh, here they are. And since we want to look them exactly the same as these buttons, we can just add a line here and then they will be styled the same way. And that button down there is an input with type submit, right? Do you remember? So we just have to do this. Now let's copy this because we also want to have it here. So now it will look exactly like this full button. So here, of course, it is an equal, not an underscore. And then we also, of course, want this hover effect here. So let's paste it here as well. Change that to equal. And let's check this now. Alright, this looks good. And now we have to make this hover effect here work as well. And that should be easy enough. And back here, we just put this code. This one, of course. Put it here and say hover. And the same thing with active. And that should do the job. All right. Okay, great. So this looks already pretty formatted, right? Maybe one thing that we can do here to make this look even better is to add some space around this checkbox here, because I think this looks a little, this lacks a little white space here, and you actually can see this here with those labels. They look a little weird here. So I'm going to do that. And another thing is that I want to get rid of these blue borders that Google Chrome adds to this. So let's do these two things now. First, the checkbox. And that's pretty easy. Just say input and then, of course, type equals checkbox. And I want some margin on maybe all sides. So we didn't do this for a long time. So at the top I want, let's say, 10 pixels. At the right side I want some 5 pixels, so between the checkbox and the text. At the bottom also 10 pixels. And on the left side no margin at all. And the last thing is to get rid of those borders when we focus on those elements. And the best thing of doing that is to get rid of it for all elements. So we have another CLO class here which is called focus. And we just say outline none. And then it should go away. So check this out. Alright, no focus here anymore. And we have some distance here between those elements, which looks much better now. So yeah, now there's only the footer left to do. And we'll do that right in the next lecture. So see you there.